Alright, so I'm gonna put together a tutorial on the platforming for stair skip. I'll briefly go over the shield bump as well. Now, I recommend trying to kill these elites on easy. If you kill all three elites here, you'll be able to get the grunts to panic, so they won't interrupt your shield's recharging. I mean, the shield here. Most of the grunts will generally panic, but now I've been working on a lineup for the shield bumping anniversary graphics. I'm not an expert at shield bumping, I've never been good at it, but this is just what I've been using. It's mostly working for me. But once I'm on the thing, I'm just gonna kill these grunts so they're annoying. Okay. Anyway, once I'm on the thing, I'm gonna crouch, and I'm gonna try and line up the bottom of the top of my reticle with a lighter blue section along the middle here. Now, where you are horizontally doesn't matter as much as where you are forwards and backwards. So I like to use like a little strafe zigzag like this to adjust my position if I need to. But I'd say generally between like the bottom of that highlighted section to the top of it is where you want to be. This saved here is actually pretty decent. Once you're good at your position, you can just uncrouch and wait for the teleport. Boop. In this one, I didn't have to do any inputs to land properly, but I find usually you can make it a bit more consistent to land on the roof if you hold W for a little bit after you start the after you get the teleport. Depends how long of a teleport you get here. Fuck with me like this. There we go.
Warning, blast doors closing. We
I
have
think
to
you
use the
usually get a checkpoint here like that, which is
follow the
kind of
message that
convenient.
leads you to an opening.
Um,
Crew and ops personnel on decks 1 through 4.
so once you're up here, you want to. Let me just reboot to the checkpoint.
We have to use
Once
the
you're up here, you want to come down to this
follow the nav
nook.
point. It will lead you
There's
to
like a
the
little dip in the wall here when you're holding W in this position here.
Personnel on decks 1
We're going to use this to manip the next part of the platforming.
immediately.
So I'm going to line up my reticle again with in between this little black line and that little black line, in that little white part there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start holding W, and then shortly after I'm going to hold space. The way this works is there's a little platform I'm standing on, and then there's a second platform just over here. When you walk off this first platform, you'll be airborne for a little bit, at which point you start buffering the jump, so you jump as soon as you hit that little second platform. That way it'll always be consistent timing, and you got a generous window to do it. But it's pretty quick, you have to do it, so just try and get a feel for the timing by practicing it. It'll look like that. And then you just hold W until you get over to this corner here. You want to make sure you let go of W so you don't like overshoot into this room. You just gotta practice timing on when to let go of W, but it's not too hard. Right, once we're on this beam, we can just walk along this. This is really quite generous, easy to do. It's not very treacherous section that. Alright, now we need to jump on top of here, and for this we want to make sure we clear this little gap as we're jumping from here, and make sure we land on that middle section. But like I said, this bit is a bit wide, as you can see in classic graphics, so you got a little bit to do a little bit of a run up if you need it. Otherwise, you can just do a second jump if you land in that middle section. Just slow, you know. Once we're here, you'll see like our head's poking through like a room above us. This room isn't actually loaded, so you're safe to jump without popping back in bounds. It just blocks our vision a little. But we want to make it over to those two yellow pipes there, above them specifically. And we can actually use this room above us to like help know where we're going. We want to make sure we jump before we get to the. We want to get a little bit of a run up and then jump before we get to the end of this thing. But it's not very far that we have to jump, so you don't have to be like super precise with jumping at the very end of it. It's pretty generous. You can just sort of eyeball it. Not a very hard jump. Once we're here, you want to crouch. Well, we don't actually have to crouch. You can just walk forward into this section here, and you'll hit the load, and you'll be stuck in this little nook here where you can only move along this line. We're here, we actually do want to crouch to help us set up the next bit of platforming. Let go of crouch after you crouch, and you'll be stuck crouched. Next, you want to line up with this dot that's right below my top reticle here. And it's got a few pixels, like, sort of leeway as well. You want to hold W and space, and then you want to just briefly tap control so you get the jump. And then you want to let go of space doesn't matter when you let go of space, but you only want to do one jump is what I'm trying to say. So that'll look like this.
Ops personnel on decks 9 through 12. Report to evac stations now.
Cool. And then we're over here without hitting the load on the way back. Now we're here, we can walk forward a little and then we can sort of strafe to the side along this little platform. And now we just want to get back on the beam here. It's worth noting that this room's not loaded, unfortunately, but this one is. See what I mean in Classic? Again, we want to make sure we clear this little bit and just land on the center. That'll look like this. It's not a very hard jump. And from here we can go for the like teleport setup that's over here. I'm not going to cover that because we don't have a very good setup for the teleport yet. I will cover this platforming though, because if you can kind of just YOLO it and it'll be faster, but it's very inconsistent if you YOLO it. These jumps are like surprisingly difficult. What I have for a setup here is there's this little octagon shape on the ground, and where this light gray meets that dark gray over there. And I want to like stand on the beam around in the middle of it. It's not like super precise. Next I want to sort of line up over here, and then I want to do like a tick or two of W and then jump. And at the peak of my jump I'm going to start holding crouch, and then I'm going to let go of W as like roughly around the same time. That part of when to let go of W is the hardest part of this, and it's just to prevent you from overshooting into the room over there. You just want to land on the corner out of bounds. So hopefully that'll look something like, oh, I didn't even remember to crouch that time. Should look something like this. See, this time I overshot a bit. Undershot. Once you get a feel for it, it's not as hard as it seems. So once you get a feel for when to let go of W, it's not that bad, but just getting that feel is a little tricky. Okay, from here we just need to get to that middle section. Again, you can just kind of eyeball it and jump through it. That'll usually work. But I also have a little setup for this if you want to. So you want to come to like around the middle of this section. It's not like super precise, but you want to crouch. Be crouching here. And making sure you're not aiming too far to the left. You want to be like at least a little bit to the right, but like mostly straight on. While crouching, you want to do 2 ticks of W's and jump. And just stay crouched the whole jump, and you should land right onto the thing. Should look like this. Oh. Should look like this. No, why am I landing on it? Maybe I'm not far forward enough. Maybe I'm doing 1 tick of W instead of 2. Maybe it's 3 that you need to do actually. It's really hard to internalize small amounts of time. Anyway, once you get the timing down, it's pretty easy. You can fairly consistently land on it. Finally, for this last part, again, you can kind of just YOLO it, and sometimes you'll make it in. Sometimes you'll just walk off the platform before you even have the chance to jump. What I've been doing is, I'm standing up again. I've been doing like 1 or 2 ticks of W. Should get you the jump most of the time, and then you just want to crouch near the end. Getting like exactly 2 ticks of W is kind of tricky, but you usually have enough space to get 2 ticks worth. It's when you hold W for 3 ticks before jumping that you run the real risk of falling off the platform before getting the jump. So you really just got to practice the timing of how long to hold W before jumping. The long story short is not long, basically. Because it's not a very far jump to make. And yeah, you just want to crouch when you're nearing the end of the jump. Maybe like just a little after the peak of the jump, I guess I should say. You should make it in most of the time. Yeah, hopefully that helps you guys platforming a bit.
All remaining crew and
Ooh.